Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Congress Chief Mallikarjun Kharge is on a spree of sorts, a spree of attacking Prime Minister Narendra Modi specifically. Only a few days after likening him to Ravan, and then Rahul Gandhi being in a soup for mocking Indian soldiers, it seems the Congress new chief has decided offence verbally is the best form of defence. So from the same speech in Alwar during a Bharat Jodo program, two of Kharge's comments have caused a furore with BJP up in arms, alleging disrespect to the Prime Minister and a new low in Indian politics. The matter also roared in the upper house of the Parliament today as Union Minister Piyush Goyal took on Kharge. Over the last few days, Congress has been facing the charge that they don't show enough political bipartisanship on matters like dealing with China and instead also end up demoralizing the Indian army vis-a-vis Rahul Gandhi's comments. So when the Congress chief says Modi government talks like a lion but walks like a mouse in context of what has happened in Tawang, is that legitimate criticism or a political jibe where none was needed? And by making such statements, especially attacking the Prime Minister and the Congress not hurting itself? We will take those questions to our guests in just a bit, but first up, take a look at what Kharge said exactly. Speaking of nationalism and who is rightfully nationalist and not anti-national, Kharge said the Congress fought for independence, it has sacrificed many leaders. He asked, BJP, has even your dog at your home died for the country? A remark seen as extremely elitist and certainly in bad in taste. Then in the same speech, he also tagged the PM and the central government for not debating the Tawang clash enough. He went on to say, government talks like a lion overseas, but if you look at their behavior, you look at their actions, they act like a mouse. This remark especially didn't go down with the BJP and the government. Now, in many of these cases, political parties or individual concerned often claim they've been misquoted or quoted out of context. So before we move forward, let's play out those two statements in full.
देश के एकता के लिए श्रीमती इंदिरा गांधी जी अपनी जान कुर्बान करी है। राजीव गांधी जी अपने जान दिए हैं इस देश के एकता के लिए। तो ये सब हमने किया, हमने अपनी जान दी, हमारे पार्टी के नेताओं ने जान दिया। तुम क्या किए? आपके घर में कोई देश के लिए कुत्ता तो मरा है? क्या कोई तो कुर्बानी दी है? नहीं, लेकिन फिर भी वो देशभक्त, और हम कुछ भी बोलेंगे तो देशद्रोही। अरे हम बोले भाई चर्चा करो, हमको बताओ, देश के जनता को भी बताओ पार्लियामेंट में क्या हो रहा है, सरकार क्या कह रही है, सरकार क्या कर रही है, ये हम पूछ रहे हैं, दूसरा कुछ नहीं। उन्होंने कहा चर्चा की आवश्यकता नहीं है। बाहर तो शेर के जैसा बात करते हैं, लेकिन उनका जो चलना है वो सिर्फ आप देखेंगे तो चूहे के जैसा है।
Now, just this month, that isn't even close to being over, the Congress has invited avoidable headlines for poor statements made by their leaders. Remember, just before Gujarat polling, Congress Chief Mallikarjun Kharge himself likened the Prime Minister to Ravan, which even the Prime Minister raised in a poll rally. It's unlikely this helped the Congress party's fortunes in the state. It has been virtually routed in Gujarat. Initially, the Congress handled the Tawang clash well, and it generally happens so that slowly the loose comments start flowing. None other than Rahul Gandhi himself was guilty of his foot in the mouth when he claimed Indian Jawans are being beaten or thrashed by the Chinese. A statement that can't be defended because it wasn't criticism of the government or its policies. And then there is, of course, Congress leader from Uttar Pradesh, Ajay Rai, who made the Latke Jhatke jibe against Amethi MP and Union Minister Smriti Irani, inviting questions if this is what the Congress believes. Because after all, it is in Uttar Pradesh where Priyanka Gandhi, a woman leader herself, led the Ladki Hoon Lad Sakti Hoon campaign in Uttar Pradesh. So the big question we ask today is the Congress's foot and mouth disease hurting the party itself?
जिस प्रकार से खरगे जी ने अभद्र भाषा का प्रयोग किया, जिस प्रकार से खरगे जी ने पूरी तरीके से बेबुनियाद बातें रखी, असत्य को देश के सामने रखने की कोशिश की, मैं उसकी घोर निंदा करता हूं और उनसे माफी की मांग करता हूं।
जो मैं मेरी बातें कही वो पॉलिटिकली आउटसाइड द हाउस, नॉट इन द हाउस, यहाँ पर डिस्कस करने की आवश्यकता नहीं।
खड़गे जी को देश से माफ़ी मांगनी चाहिए। लगातार उनकी हताशा, उनकी पार्टी की हताशा, कांग्रेस पार्टी का राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष इतना बौखला जाए या इतना हताश हो कि वो भाषा की मर्यादा भूल जाए।
I cannot believe that Mallikarjun Kharge, Congress president, can stoop so low and use this kind of very objectionable remarks.
मैं अभी भी कह सकता हूँ, आजादी के वक्त फ्रीडम मूवमेंट में उन लोगों का कोई रोल नहीं था।
All right, let's go across to the guests who are joining us. Tuhin Sinha of the BJP, Mahima Singh of the Congress Party, Tushar Gupta is senior editor for Rajya Magazine, and Rashid Kidwai is author and senior journalist, follows and tracks the Congress Party very closely. Mahima, what is the rationale for making these comments, especially when you'd say कि आपके घर का तो कोई कुत्ता भी नहीं मरा? ये किस तरह की भाषा है और ये mindset क्या है?
Shivani, good evening and good evening all. I'm reminded of a 2014 interview of the Prime Minister. It was, if I remember correctly, a Reuters interview, wherein there was a remark about a puppy made by the Prime Minister. So you just called the Congress's attitude, the Congress's foot and mouth disease. Let me say that this is indeed the desperate solution for the desperate disease called hyper-nationalism or pseudo-nationalism spread by the BJP in this country. You know, when we are asking relevant questions from the Prime Minister and the BJP government about Indo-China relations, about the false picture presented by the BJP government about Indo-China relations, which is one of the most sensitive, one of the most critical geopolitical challenges we face today, and we have no answers from them.
No, you're mixing issues. I'll come to China in just a bit. What he said on China, I'll come to that in just a bit. But I'm not sure how you can use a remark made in the past to defend what has been said today. I'm also pretty shocked that you're saying that making remarks like these is the solution to pseudo and hyper nationalism. Is this how the Congress is going to fight pseudo and hyper nationalism?
There's a famous proverb, Shivani, that goes like this: desperate diseases call for desperate solutions. And so, you know, when one is not left with any solution, I think one needs to make the other side taste their own medicine.
But
so like the BJP
you're just accepting desperation on your part by saying, by quoting the proverb that desperate times call for desperate measures. You're just accepting desperation on your part. In fact, it does sound like desperation when you're attacking individuals, or let's say the party for not even a dog in their house having died for the country. It just comes across as elitist, it comes across as below the belt, and it does come across as desperate.
The Prime Minister saying, well, first of all, Shivani, there's no lie in it. Let the BJP come out, and we've been asking year after year, what was their participation in the independence struggle of India's? And apart from that, when the Prime Minister said in 2014 that even when कोई पिल्ला भी मर जाता है, कोई कुत्ता भी मर जाता है सड़क पर, तो हमें दुख होता है about Godhra. Let me also set the context here. It was about Godhra. If you can play that, if any channel has the guts to play that today and put this in context with that, well, it's not desperate on Congress's part. We have waited.
But you've no, I didn't bring in desperation. You said desperate times call for desperate measures, and this is your desperation to hit back at the BJP on pseudo-nationalism and hyper-nationalism. And something that you criticized in the past, I'm amazed that you're now quoting it as an example, as a justification for what you're doing now. Because as I remember, the Prime Minister's comment about the puppy was debated ad nauseum, and the Congress party was the first one to say that it was insensitive and, objectionable. But I'm not sure how that is a defense for what the new Congress chief is saying.
Shivani, I'm just appalled at the attitude that we see today, that nobody in 2014 really was alarmed so much by the Prime Minister's comment, who was yet to become
I don't remember it like that. I think the Prime Minister's comment was discussed quite a bit, and the Congress objected to it. So who are you to quote that as an example?
I'll dig it out and send it across to you. Well,
ma'am, I remember. I was very much in the media business in 2014. I remember that comment that you're referring to. I remember the furor over the comment too. So I'm just trying to understand, how are you using that as a defense, especially because the Congress objected to that language. So shouldn't you follow what you preach?
Our question is very relevant. We are asking that, has any member of your family, let alone a human, even a pet, have they martyred their lives for the country, for the
Well, it
independence
wasn't
struggle?
as innocent, that remark, right? It's not, and I don't know why you drag pets into this. It's very offensive to people who have pets. But anyways, the way we talk about animals is a good indicator about where we stand. But anyways, I'll give Tuhin Sinha an opportunity to respond to
Prime Minister also then.
I'll give an opportunity to Tuhin Sinha to respond about what the Congress has been saying, and not why just the Congress spokesperson. Even Mallikarjun Kharge today defended himself, saying that what I said was outside of Parliament. I did not really breach any ethics inside Parliament, and I'll repeat it. I stand by it. What is there to take offense? Because many could argue that it is like using an idiom. It is a figures of speech.
Good evening, Shivani.
Yeah.
It was very amusing, what all they will call figure of speech now, because if they keep justifying what they speak, then largely, they are publicly, accepting themselves to be a somewhat uncouth party. Forget all the diatribes, forget all the invectives and the language which they have used. You didn't mention Raju Pateria, who went a step ahead and wanted the Prime Minister dead. So, I mean, this is a very toxic Congress party. And since the issue over here, even the Congress representative kept harping on, our struggle, our contribution to the freedom struggle, let me for once and for all enlighten them about it, because Rahul Gandhi is the one who has been talking about RSS ne kya kiya, RSS ne kya kiya. So once and for all, if you give me a minute, Dr. Hedgewar worked in the Provincial Congress Committee of Central Province before founding the RSS. So first of all, he was disillusioned with the Congress party even after forming the RSS. In 1928, the anti-Simon Commission protest in the Central Province region was led by RSS leaders and Swayamsevaks. On 12th July 1930, Dr. Hedgewar, along with 800 people, proceeded to Pusat for the Satyagraha movement and spent 9 months in prison after his arrest. So, I think they need to enlighten themselves even a little more. Furthermore, in 1929, when Purna Swaraj resolution was passed, RSS showed solidarity by issuing a circular to all its 37 shakhas. During the Quit India movement, RSS Swayamsevaks were shot dead but successfully established a parallel government in Asti Chumur region at the wrath of the Britishers.
Okay.
So these are some of the things which they need to know, but unfortunately they are so arrogant. And it is not just about the Prime Minister who they keep abusing. It is not just about this government. Please remember that when Draupadi Murmu was supposed to contest, what did the Congress say? That she represents an evil philosophy. That is the attitude of the Congress party. They are so arrogant. They keep vilifying Veer Savarkar for no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, actually the Veer Savarkar controversy also keeps coming back again and again. Recently it reared its head in Karnataka.
Us and them. And with this kind of a divisive attitude, I don't know why Rahul Gandhi is embarking on this Bharat Jodo Yatra, which anyway is a sham.
No, okay, let me bring in Rashid Kidwai. Rashid, yes, Mahima, I'll give you 30 seconds to respond.
I'm saying that thankfully now they have answers to the question we've been asking for the last 8 years. I hope it won't be too late before they have answers to the China.
You are the current party. We are enlightening you. We don't need to answer it. We are enlightening you once for all, so that you don't keep harping on it and abusing us.
The BJP is running in the name of decoupling with China. Shams that the BJP is running in the name of decoupling with China. I'll talk about that next segment. You come back to me, Shivani.
No, the issue is not the questions you're raising against the government. Issue is the language that is being adopted, and whether that is helping the party or not. In fact, that is my next question to Rashid Kidwai. Rashid Kidwai, we know that this doesn't work for the Congress party. They suffer because of it. Look at the comment that whether you call it a slip of tongue or a choice of bad words by Rahul Gandhi, because ultimately he talked about Jawans being thrashed. I quoted some other examples. Now, when we saw Mallikarjun Kharge take over as the new president, the assumption was that he's going to change the way the party functions. And what we're seeing is more of the same. How is this going to help the Congress party fight the BJP, even as they have humongous issues and, internal problems to deal with? Today, I'm talking on a day when there's a internal feud in the Telangana unit of the Congress party, for example. So what is it that your focus is? Abusing the opposition, in this case the BJP, the opposition to you, or actually strengthening your party from ground up?
I think, Shivani, first of all, in a vibrant democracy, in a civilized democracy, this kind of tutu meme or calling names has no place. So, and it is expected from leaders like Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, who's got 6-7 decades in public life, to maintain some kind of decorum and set an example. Having said that, I think this root cause of the problem has been since 2014 that I can think of is there is a utter trust deficit between the two major political parties of the country. Our election outcomes and all are different. The worst things have been said about one another in public forum, inside parliament, outside parliament, and this is a bit unfortunate. If we go take a position saying that a party A is track record is much better than party B and all, I'm not so sure. But again, as a political commentator, I'm totally against it. I think the Congress can be accused of many wrongs, evils, whatever one can say, but to doubt their kind of intentions about country's sovereignty, national integrity, etc. is, I think, is
No, but
problematic.
isn't it also
And
a little
when the
bit
Congress
arrogant and
typically-
elitist for the Congress to continue to ask that, okay, anybody
Yeah.
who hasn't contributed to the independence struggle better not talk to us? I mean, what kind of arrogance is that?
So then I'm saying, no. That's what I'm saying. So people, political parties are wrong to question Congress's, sense of, nationalism. And the Congress is I think, is doing a bigger harakiri, a bigger mistake by, asking or challenging issues that are of national importance, where unity is paramount, where we all should act as one, as citizens of India. So I think it's a bit of action reaction. I think more than the, consequences and the outcome, how will it affect election? I think political class needs to think what kind of, examples we are setting before youth or youngsters of this country.
Yeah, and coupled with that is the question about the back and forth that has also been on, for example, on the Taiwan clash or relationships over China. There are questions that have been asked of critical national importance and security, which the BJP government has outrightly said this issue cannot be asked or discussed in Parliament. There are certain sensitive issues that cannot be discussed. They've also listed out several examples of when in the past, for example, the Mumbai terror attacks or Naxal attacks where leaders have been attacked, only statements were given out, but clarifications, especially of the very deep nature of intelligence, were not asked on the floor of the Parliament. So here also there is a juxtaposition of what happened in the past and what the Congress is demanding today, because it has such a wide range of period when it was in power in India. There is always a historical context and example that can be thrown back at the Congress party. But let me now invite Tushar Gupta into this discussion. Tushar, when we talk in Hindi or any local language, there are several references that are made to, for example, animals or the animal world. For example, if I say कोई कुत्ते बिल्ली की तरह लड़ रहा है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि मैं किसी को कुत्ता या बिल्ली बुला रही हूँ, इसका मतलब ये है कि they are fighting bitterly. So when Kharge says कि you talk like a lion but you walk like a mouse, इसमें इतना बवाल बनाने की क्या जरूरत है? It's a figure of speech.
Look, at the end of the day, you made a very important point in the beginning of the debate, pardon me, that how one talks about pets and how one refers to them indicates how a person is. But Shivani, I want to settle this debate about Congress being the instrumental party when it came to the independence movement. Look, who was the biggest icon of the independence movement in India? It was Mahatma Gandhi. It was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And for the last 27 years in Gujarat, the Congress has been voted out. The land of Mahatma Gandhi doesn't want the Congress, but the Congress wants to keep clinging on to the legacy they believe is theirs. Nehru, another icon of the independence movement. What happened in 1962 in China? He claimed that Hindi Chiniya bhai bhai. But how was he answered? Even until today, we are paying the price for Nehru's policy when it comes to China. So we have to understand that the Congress might want to claim that there is a history of the independence movement. That doesn't work. Another aspect, Shivani, the Congress may want to say that we are calling out the sham the BJP is, but it was the Congress Defense Minister, A.K. Antony, in 2013, who said that we do not want developed border infrastructure because it leads to conflicts. So even if I were to compare the Congress and the BJP, I would just compare the era between 2004 and 14 and 2014 and 22 when it comes to border roads infrastructure. Let's talk about the manufacturing prowess that India is snatching from China. The economists that stand with Rahul Gandhi today are the ones who are criticizing India's decision to bring manufacturing from China to India.
Yeah.
Now look, Mallikarjun Kharge can say a lot of things. He can make all the political gimmicks. He can make all the political remarks. He can call someone a mouse, a cat, a dog, whatever. But there are two realities. The Congress of today has nothing to do with the legacy or the inheritance of the Congress of the 1940s. And number two, when it comes to the BJP, the efforts they have undertaken to counter China, both economically and diplomatically, are light years ahead than what the Congress was doing. And at the end of the day,
before I go across to the China issue, I want to just bring in Mahima one more time, Tushar, on the issue that you raised. Actually, he raises a point, Mahima. The Congress party of today cannot be using independence struggle as a stick to beat everybody around with. You cannot use it like that. कि हम तो थे उस वक्त, but तुम कहाँ थे?
It is very interesting, Shivani, to observe the narrative, or I should say the pseudo-narrative, which is every day tirelessly built about the Congress party, yet we are also tirelessly working to sort of counter that. There are three very important points before I come to answer your immediate question. There was a point made about shams, as I said earlier, by the BJP spokesperson, then the feud, and then just now Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. I'll one by one counter each of these. See, shams. Let me redefine shams here. A sham is when the government says that we are decoupling with China, yet you see that they are banning the apps. The very apps share it, UC-web.com, and actually are capturing all our data market in India, especially in a sensitive state of Jammu and Kashmir. Then the trade dependence on China is at a record high right now. There are 174 Chinese companies that are registered in India in recent years. 3,560 Indian companies have Chinese directors on board, Shivani. That is a sham, saying that we are decoupling with China. Yet this data, and this is only the tip of the iceberg that I'm quoting here. Apart from that feud, you talk about feud. Let me tell you, the feud, let me define feud for you. Satish Punia versus Vasundhara Raje Scindia in Rajasthan, that is feud. Now, Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, you say that BJP, that Nehruji said that. Let me cite, the Jhula ride in Mamallapuram and the Bali discussions where it was that like that PM Modi was facing the blank wall when Xi Jinping raise an eyebrow to whatever.
Okay, I get your point. That wasn't my question to you. My question to you was, when are you going to stop using the independence struggle as some sort of stick to beat all of us around with? When is this going to end? You cannot keep claiming that legacy just because, some form of the Congress existed then and some others didn't. Anyways, Tushar, I'll give you 30 seconds to respond because since she responded to you. Mahima, I'll give you time.
Mahima has made some very tall claims. No, hold on. Mahima has made some very tall claims here. I'll just give one example. Even after the Jhula ride, Prime Minister Modi could go ahead and ban Huawei from India's 5G trials. While during the Congress regime from the 90s to 2014, India lost a greater part of the manufacturing share to China, especially on the pharmaceutical front, which was very visible when we were struck by the COVID wave. So you might as well criticize Modi's diplomacy, but at the end of the day, he had it in him to take the tough decision to ban Huawei.
Can I come back to the subject that I was actually discussing? I'll take that question back. I'll take that question back to Rashid Kidwai. Rashid Kidwai, this word was brought into this discussion not by me, by the Congress spokesperson, but I did find it quite interesting. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Is the Congress really doing this out of desperation? Is this the language of desperation?
In fact, let me
Rashid Kidwai, please. Rashid Kidwai.
I think Shivani, you see, there is a thing about there is a strong sense of nationalism, and that is something that has been highly politicized. Whether it is good or whether it should take place or not, that's a different debate. I think the Congress feels a little defensive about it, having won this decisive 3 wars since the post-independent.
No, it isn't just about
India.
nationalism or the issue with China. The Ravan comment was not based on China or what is happening on nationalism. Ajay Rai's comment against Smriti Irani is not based out of nationalism debate.
Absolutely distasteful. No, I agree. It's absolutely distasteful. But then again, Ajay Rayas of the world. I can cite number of, the BJP's, set of Ajay Rayas. And what did Prime Minister or Home Minister did? So, this is not argument. This would not lead us anywhere. I think what we should draw some kind of, encouragement. There was a picture I saw of, Prime Minister and Vice President, both presiding, leaders of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and Mr. Kharge were having a meal today. So I
The
think
millet
this
meal.
is what is going to, require. Yeah. So that, see, they are very sorted out. I think all these things are being debated just to drive home, because I mean, with due respect to party spokesperson, to drive
No,
home
the
some
central
kind of
point that I was
think,
driving at is that for the last 6-7 years, we've seen the Congress repeatedly suffer because of such comments that are made, and Modi bashing doesn't quite work for them. When a new Congress chief took over, we expected that the way the party functions and the way it's going to take its battle to the BJP, its attack to the BJP is going to change fundamentally. But anyways, Tuhin Sen, I wanted to make a point, Tuhin, then I finish.
It's the language of abject despondency and frustration. It's the language, that you speak when you realize that you don't have a future in the country for the next 10 or 15 years. And that is why you see that it's happening simultaneously. Leaders all across the states and at the national level in the Congress party have been denigrating the army, they have been denigrating the president, they have been denigrating the prime minister. Now, coming back to the China issue, let me remind you that, our principled opposition to China's war started way back in 2016, 2017, as a result of which, they got provoked and, they come in Doklam. The way we have handled them in Doklam first, in Galwan Valley, and then in Tawang shows a determination. But the bigger game changer has been the slew of PLI schemes which has taken away manufacturing from China. India today, if India is exporting, has become an export hub for toys. It has been so at the expense of China. Similarly, mobile phones, and the bigger game changer would be the semiconductor manufacturing. But of course, this is an ignorant Congress party. It doesn't take cognizance of the changes which have taken place in the last few years.
Yes, Tushar, 30 seconds, please.
Shivani, we remember Rahul Gandhi coming out in the public during the UPA 2 era and tearing up ordinances. Today, when his party criticizes the government stand on China, would Rahul Gandhi come out in public and tear up the MOU that was signed between the Congress party and the CCP back in 2008? Would he do that? And at the end of the day, why can't the Congress have a bipartisan stand when it comes to national security issues? You look at what happened in Doklam. Rahul Gandhi was meeting the ambassador of China back then. You look at what happened during the COVID wave, how the Congress was attacking the government on every basic step.
Actually, that's the biggest casualty right now. There are certain things that were not actually discussed in Parliament of similar grievous nature, and should that not be the bipartisanship that is brought forward, and there can certainly be closed door meetings, behind the door meetings, and whatever can be placed in Parliament should be placed in Parliament too. We've been discussing this on Plain Speak as well. But I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us.